G'day, I'm Warwick Schiller and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about hand grazing horses. I'm not against hand grazing horses, but I think hand grazing is a bit like, I don't know, anything in a relationship with a horse or with a person really. There's a time and a place for it, and you've just got to make sure that hand grazing does not interfere with anything else you're doing. And you know, I see a lot of horses that people have a hard time maybe steering them under saddle, okay, or they're hard in the mouth or whatever they call. But when they hand graze, if they were to reach down and pick up on that right there, that wouldn't happen. They can't just pick the slack out of that rope and have that horse stop eating and pay attention to them, which means the hand grazing in that case would probably not be a good idea. Okay, this is my 3-year-old Murray. He's just come home, so I'm going to start working with him. But yeah, he's, you know, hand grazing with this one, he's been through all the groundwork, and hand grazing with this one wouldn't be a problem. But you just got to make sure that you're not having other things deteriorated from it. And I'll tell you a quick story here about probably the best hand grazing story I could give you. So a few years ago in Australia, I had 10 acres there, and I had a round pen, and that was it. I didn't have an arena or anything, and I had this lady send me this horse that used to buck a bit, and he was kind of real pushy, and he liked to push around and that sort of thing. And she sent me him for a month, and another lady sent me her horse from a friend of hers. So they lived about 3 hours away, and they came over at the same time, dropped them off, and a month later they came back to see their horses and pick them up. And so the big pushy bucking one, I got him out first, and I rode him. Oh, I don't even think I had a tack rim then. So I had like the bridle rack hanging on the round pen. I had the saddle hanging on the round pen. So I get him out of his pen, come over, brush him off, get the saddle, throw the saddle on him. Then so I'm on the outside of the round pen. So I get the bridle, I take the halter off, I get the bridle off the fence, I go over, I put the bridle on him, and then I go and ride him for, you know, ride him around the place, show her the whole thing, and then I get done, I ride back over to the same spot. We'll get off somewhere and lead him over here, but anyway, I take the bridle off, I hang it back on the fence, then I pick up my halter that I had dropped on the ground, and then I put the halter on him, and I got done with him, and so I unsaddle him, and I hand him to her, and I said, I'll just ride your friend's horse. She said, what do you want me to do, tie him up or whatever? I said, oh, whatever you want to do, you're fine. So I rode the other horse, and when I got done with the other horse, they were done, and my round pen was at the bottom of this hill that I had, and the truck and trailer was at the top, and the pens that those horses had been living in were halfway up the hill, and she had my halter on. So we start heading up the hill. She's leading her horse, and she gets to the pen where her horse lived, and its halter's laying on the ground right there, and she's got to take my halter off and put the other halter on. So she comes over here and she takes my halter off, and as soon as my halter comes off and she goes to reach for the halter on the ground, her horse turns and runs off. You might notice he's a young horse, he's only 3. Haven't done much with him, he's not started yet. And there's horses in pens over there, and there's some horses in the neighbouring thing right here. And he doesn't mind hanging out here. But anyway, so her horse just turns and runs off and runs around my 10 acres. And she said, I can't figure out why he did that. Like when you took the halter off me, he just stood there. And when you took the halter off and got the bridle, he stood there. And then you took the bridle off to get the halter, he just stood there. I cannot figure out why he did that. And I said, well, what did you do with him after I handed him to you, after I rode him? She goes, oh, nothing, we just hand grazed a little bit. What she'd done for an hour was let him lose mental focus on her. He walked over there, and instead of going, hey, I'm still over here, she just followed him around wherever he grazed. So instead of her leading him around, he led her around. And at the end of an hour of that, the only thing keeping him right here with her was this piece of rope. Okay, there was no mental bond, there was no mental connection. And so at the end of the hour, when she went, oh, I'm going to take this off and do this, right there, her horse left. Okay? And the reason being was because before she took the halter off, he wasn't paying any attention to her. And it was a poor episode of hand grazing that caused it. So anyway, so that's my take on hand grazing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with hand grazing if your horse is ready for that, you don't have any other problems, and your horse can stay mentally hooked to you, because otherwise you can hand graze them and teach those horses to ignore this halter pressure. You know, if you think about when I first start riding a horse, I'm going to ride him in the halter, and that there is supposed to mean something, okay? If they drag you around for half an hour pulling that thing and it doesn't mean anything, it's going to affect their steering when you ride them, it's going to affect how they lead, it's going to affect how they do a lot of stuff. So anyway, that's my thoughts on hand grazing. Hope that helps. We'll see you guys next time.